Hello everybody, welcome to our Inner Healers Web TV. Today we will have a very special guest for us who is Toni Petrinovich, and she will be talking to us about our monthly topic, grief. Hello Toni, welcome to our Inner Healers Web TV. How are you feeling today?
Oh, thank you very much. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling wonderful. I kind of wish it was a little bit sunnier out, but that's okay. It's the Pacific Northwest, so spring is cloudy.
You're in spring already, right?
Well, yes, that's what we're pretending we're doing. The tulips have bloomed, the daffodils have bloomed, the deer have come and eaten our tulips, so yes, we call it spring.
You have deers, that's beautiful.
Oh, we have deer everywhere. We have deer beds in our yard.
Oh.
At night, in the morning, you see these big kind of crop circle-like looking arrangements that they've made in the grass, yeah.
Totally in autumn, but it's funny because we still have like spring sun, you know, or summer sun. It's very interesting.
Right.
The weather is having a party with us these days. So tell us, how would you define grief?
Grief is the catalyzed sense of separation that we come into this earth with, that is due to, the grief itself is due to the sense of loss of a person, or sometimes a situation or something. People can go into grief over having lost their car. And the origin of it comes from the time when we're born. Because in the separation we experience coming through the birth canal, having the umbilical cord cut, and then creating literally our own electromagnetic field that attempts to merge with this electromagnetic field, that sense of separation begins at birth. And we're separated from our mother. We feel the loss of her energetic field right away, and we're attempting to assemble our own in a room that may or may not be conducive to the easy assemblance of our own resonant harmonic frequency. So that's already in place. And then life goes on, and from time to time, depending upon what happens in our lives, for me, for you, it was when we were younger, our parents, people in our lives die, and when they leave, this grief, the separation, the sense of separation is stimulated. And to the degree that the person who leaves has a great significance in your life, to the degree that the person who leaves allows you to feel like you've been left behind or abandoned, which is the original feeling that you had at birth, to that degree, the grief is very intense or less intense, depending upon the interpretation that basically your body and your mind has for that sense of separation.
So when we grieve, we're actually experiencing this physical separation.
Yes, it's a physical separation, and even though it's not really real from the standpoint of spirit or the soul, we experience it as very real because we're living in a dimension that is based on separation. This particular dimension, and the dimension is a frequency of consciousness. It's an awareness within you of your moment-to-moment experience. So the dimension you live in has a lot to do with how you experience your conscious awareness. In this dimension is all about separation. It is a dual world. It's a plus minus, bad, good, in, out, black, white. For every dual situation, let's just use black and white. If you have black, you do not have white. If you have white, you do not have black, even though the two combined are what we would call union. Within this duality is always a sense of separation from the opposite of what we are. So you're sitting in front of the camera there, I'm sitting in front of the camera here, we are separate. In reality, we're not separate at all. If our frequency, our vibrational frequency was just a little bit faster, we would not be able to interact this way in front of the camera because the camera wouldn't pick it up. And yet, we would be what we would call telepathically connected and wouldn't have to have this conversation at all, because if everybody was in that particular frequency, we would just think it be it, and everybody would understand what we were saying.
So what role does our mental body play within grief? You know, we're talking about our physical body experiencing grief through the separation sense, what about our mental body? What would you say is the role it plays on our grief process?
Well, our minds are channeling, that's a good way to put it. Our minds are channeling themselves through our brain. And it's sort of like the brain is the hardware, like the computer, and then the mind is the software. And the mind is sending information into the brain that can only process it, and this is the physical part of the mental body. The brain can only process it based upon what it believes it knows and what it believes it should expect. There's a lot of shoulds involved here. Based upon where the child is born, who raises it, what religion, what culture, etc., etc. So the mind through the brain is going to experience the grief conducive to the environment. So you in Peru would have a different mental experience of the grief than I would in America. Physiologically, in our cells, it's the same. Our interpretation of it is different. And the way we play it out is different. The way we act is different. How you would maybe do ceremony or funerals or rituals, even if it's the same religion, in a different culture, it's going to be slightly different. So our mind is really depending upon the mental capacity we have to process information, and the brain's always looking for the familiar, so it's always looking for more and more familiar within whatever's going on. One of the aspects of grief that assists people is finding things that are familiar that make you comfortable. Somebody might say, you know, I'm just in such a state of grief, I just want to sit here and hug this pillow. Well, it's not going to be a brand new pillow. It's going to be a pillow that person really knows, because the mind is looking for something that will comfort it, that feels familiar to it. So the mind is being the interpreter of what the grief means. And much like the story I sent you about me interpreting what Philip driving out of the driveway meant to me, the mind can segment itself. In my experience of watching Philip drive away to go to work without saying goodbye, I had me as my 5-year-old child experiencing the loss of my father. I had me as the 65-year-old woman I am saying, okay, everything's going to be fine. And then I had the multidimensional soul aspect of me saying, wow, this is really interesting. I wonder how this is going to turn out. So we have the capacity to segment ourselves that way, but most people don't do that, because in a state of grief, you kind of just let go of it all, and you just do whatever feels comfortable. And I think that's one of the most important parts, is to really honor what feels comfortable to you, despite what anybody else might say will assist you. Because everybody can only assist you from their own perception.
I think that's very important as well, because we're usually, even though we're grieving, we are trying to comply with what other people expect from us. You know, do not cry, do not grieve, actually. So what would you say is the role of our emotional body during the grief process? Are there any emotions maybe that we connect with more closely?
Yes, and I love to play with words, and emotion is really emoting, you know, to emote. And again, we go back to cultures, because, for instance, your culture is going to emote more than my culture is. Your heritage is very demonstrative. It is loud, it emotes, your dance, your colors, your flair for just letting it all come out is going to express itself louder than the more subdued American culture, which is even less subdued than, say, the British culture. So the emotional body is going to say, I want to express, I want to express, I want to cry, I want to scream, I want to laugh, I want to do all of these different things. And depending upon how much honor you give to that emoting, to that degree are you going to feel what you would call relief from the sort of suppression that the mind is trying to, like you said, trying to do what other people say, or trying to fit in with what's going on. Like, for instance, the widow at the wake of someone who has just died has to walk around with her little cup of tea and her little black dress and greet all of the people who are there and pretend she's being the hostess. What an absolutely inappropriate thing to have to do. Go sit in a corner and wallow in your pajamas. Let everybody else take care of all that stuff. And the emotional body wants to really express, and we as a culture, by and large, America, Europe, Britain, the more kind of Anglo-Saxon white people, don't let ourselves emote to the degree that we really need to. And of course then we end up with heart attacks and cancer and all this other stuff because the body says, well, the energy's got to go someplace and it's really incoherent, so we're going to do what we do. We're going to cause you some pain and see if you get it. Because the emotion needs to come out.
Yeah, and what would you say about our soul experiencing this specific moment, the grief in this specific moment?
The soul is totally neutral. The soul doesn't care. And I know that people don't like that. Everybody wants everything to mean something, you know. And give me the purpose for my life. Tell me what I'm supposed to do. And the soul just sits there and says, I am recording these experiences. Have some more experiences. Oh, we'll choose some more experiences over here. It's like a buffet table. And you get to choose everything you want, and all of it's equal. So the soul is just recording it. The soul doesn't really have any cares one way or the other about what's going on. It's in a very neutral state. All energy is neutral. Energy on this planet, all of it's neutral. I'm not talking about the charge of electromagnetism like electricity. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what the information in energy is. It's all neutral. We give it its meaning. We give it its significance. So we get a chance to say, this moment signifies for me a sense of loss that is so huge, I don't know what to do with it. So I'm going to honor my emotions. I'm going to honor what feels right for me. And I'm going to let myself really be with this until I feel that I don't have to be with it anymore. And then I'll do whatever comes next. And meanwhile, the soul record is kind of like an LP, just spinning, going, recording, recording. Good CD. Yeah, the CD burner.
So we have just 2 minutes left for this interview. Are there any last words you would like to offer?
Yes. To the best you can do this, based upon whatever your situation is, don't get caught up in what other people want you to do or experience during your grieving period. Let yourself grieve however you want to grieve. Now, I will just give a little caveat here that this might push some people away from you, and that's really an okay thing. They'll come back. When you are really, truly grieving the way you need to grieve, most people are not going to be able to watch you do this. They'll want to be supportive, they'll want to be there, but on their own terms. When you say, no, it's not on your terms, it's on my terms, because I'm the one grieving, they might go away, which is fine. You really don't need everybody holding your hand. You need to honor you. You need to sit with yourself and let it happen, and love yourself, and do whatever feels absolutely perfect for you in the moment. And then when you come out the other end, you will feel full. You will feel like you've really tapped into a place within yourself that you've never been before. And the nice part of that is then you can really understand when other people are going through the same thing, how to be in support of them or not, depending upon what they need.
Thank you very much, Toni. It has been a pleasure to have you here, and I hope to have you again soon. Thank you.
Okay, Lucia.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.